So previously we talked about the extraction of iron, and we said that we don't get a pure iron ore, we just get iron plus some carbon plus some sulfur plus some silicon and phosphorus. So in order to make steel, we have to remove these impurities, and to remove these impurities we use something called an oxygen furnace. And now let's talk about this in more detail. So what happens is, the molten iron we take from the blast furnace is poured right here. So this is the molten iron. Now what happens is, we introduce a water cooling pipe, which is this pipe. So this is a water cooling pipe, and this pipe sprays oxygen onto the surface of the molten iron. And notice this, there is a reaction that happens. Well, the carbon that exists in the molten iron is oxidized to become carbon monoxide gas and carbon dioxide gas, and these gases escape here. So the waste gases escape here. So waste gases. Now another reaction occurs. Sulfur is also oxidized to produce sulfur dioxide gas, and also the sulfur dioxide escapes with the waste gases. Now what about the silicon and the phosphorus? Well, the silicon forms an oxide of silicon oxide, and phosphorus also forms an oxide. Well, these are both solid oxides. We want to get rid of them. What do? Well, we add some lime, which is calcium oxide, to this, and calcium oxide will convert the solid oxide to slag, and slag is then collected. So this process continues until we get the percentages required from the carbon and the silicon and the phosphorus and so on. When we get the required percentages, this process stops. So let's recap. Well, we said that the molten iron that we get from the blast furnace has some impurities, and in order to improve the quality of iron, we use a process that involves an oxygen furnace, and we use this process to produce steel. Now what happens in the oxygen furnace is that we pour molten iron and we introduce a water cooling pipe called the lance, and this pipe sprays oxygen onto the surface of the molten iron. So what happens is, the carbon present becomes carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide gas, and these gases escape. Also, the same thing happens with sulfur. Sulfur is oxidized to produce sulfur dioxide gas. Now, regarding the silicon and the phosphorus, they both form solid oxides, and in order to get rid of the solid oxide, we add some lime, and lime is calcium oxide. The lime turns this oxide into slag, and slag is then collected. So that's it for the production of steel, and we're done with the metals. We're gonna solve some past paper exams in the next video, so stay tuned guys, and good luck.